Hi, hello, g'day, kia ora, welcome to the studio. I'm Paula from MoxyMojo. Thank you for joining me here for Prompt 8, Snippets and Grandma's Buttons. Now, today we have a snack from Robyn. We have this adorable little wee Christmas tree. I'm not sure if it's a shortbread or a sugar, like a sugar cookie. Probably from the icing I'd call it a sugar cookie. Sugar cookie. But it kind of looks like what here in New Zealand we call a shortbread. Yeah, it tastes like a shortbread. And the tea today is Twinings Infuse, cold water infusion, passion fruit, mango, and blood orange. And that is simply because I forgot to take one of Tanya's tea bags upstairs to make my tea. So we have a lovely cold drink for the day. Snippets and Grandma's Buttons. Now, I could cheat and grab this lovely snippet that Robyn so kindly sent me as part of my 50 scraps and say, ta-da, I'm done. Because this is in essence what we are going to create today, at least as our base layer. But I thought that would be kind of a cheating, so we will use this at some stage, but I thought I'd show you how I make snippets, because as many crafters as there are in the world is probably as many different ways of making snippet rolls. Now you can make them either with, you can make them with paper like this, and like I'm going to do today, but you could also make them with fabric if you wanted to. But I really don't have enough scraps of fabric to be able to do that. Now, I normally use as my base adding machine rolls. I bought I think it was maybe 5 packs of them, of 10 rolls, which will last me an eternity, because there is so much paper on this roll. And I mean, if I, like Robyn here is, I'm guessing she's used the same or similar, and given, you know, the width of it, even just using it full width, it will last forever. But I quite often use it at half width. Let me just pull my washi tape off. And even then, so doubling it, it will last 2 forevers. But I quite like them, and very useful. And let's just jump in and make one. So I think I am going to go with the half size, because sometimes I don't want it this wide. And I mean, I could make it that wide and then cut it in half, but I don't want one side to be really luscious and uneven and out of control, and the other one to be like cut like a knife sharp. So we're going to do half a strip. So in order to do this, I use my trusty ruler. No, my other trusty ruler. Let's just shift that out of the way. Because, and it's not this one because this one's only 1 inch wide, but this one works out that it is near enough to half the width of the roll. I mean, I couldn't ask for, you know, better. So what I do is line my trusty ruler along the side, and then I just try and hold it steady, and whoops, got to get started, then I'll be right. Just tear to my heart's content, and you can keep tearing as long as you like. So depending on whichever angle feels the most comfortable for you. And I mean, it's always awkward when you're trying to fit it into camera shot, but, and I mean, once you, getting it started is the most awkward part, and then you just, I mean, throw that over the side, throw the other end over the other side, ruler in the middle, and then tear. Whoops, doesn't matter if we do a wee bit wonky like that, because, hey, there's no such thing as a mistake. Now, I'm going to leave that as plenty long enough. Normally, I would make it longer than this, because I like to live life dangerously. No, because I, you know, make bulk. Alright, so, we've torn that off. We put this somewhere out of the way so that the unrolling will not get in our way, because it is annoying. We will just shift the ruler out of the way, and that means sliding it up the side of my desk. And what we're going to do now is just very simply, and I'm using a glue stick. I don't normally use glue stick for a lot of things, but we want quick and easy for this, and we are just going to overlap it slightly, and we want to just clean off any excess, and there is our strip. And then what I normally do is roll it up again, so that again I have some sort of semblance of control of it, over it. And then stick down all your scraps. So now what I would do, and what I do is I will have one of these going almost constantly. Every time I'm crafting, I have these going. And so I'll have this roll, or a large roll, you know, large roll on the side of my desk, and when either at the end of the day, when it comes to cleaning up, or partway through, if I've got a lot of scraps, then I will take 5-10 minutes, however how long, depending on whether I want to de-stress or something, and do something totally mindless that doesn't require thinking, and I will put my little wee scraps onto one of these rolls. Now, I don't do it normally when I am doing an ongoing project like Dephemerember, because I want to always have those scraps available to me and to use and pick up, and you'll see, like, some of these things you will have already seen where I've like taken this little wee corner off the page here, and this was left over from our envelopes. So in an event like this, then no, I won't do this. But in my normal crafting, where what I'm doing, you know, lasts only 1 or 2 days of that, or maybe I work on 3 or 4 different things in a day, then that's the ideal time to do this sort of thing. Right, so let's get down and do some, let's create a snippet from where we are. So I've got some bits from Robyn, some bits from Tanya, and then if I want to, I can grab some of my own scraps and add them to the collection. But to be honest, I think I've got enough. Here we go. I'm just going to, and I mean, working on your craft mat or some, maybe you've got a glue book type thing, ideal. Now, I go a little bit out beyond the edge of the scrap here, but, you know, I just see what happens. Now, actually, I want to lift that up, now that I've just stuck it down, and I'm going to put this one underneath. You know, I'm going, you know, up to about, what is it, 1/4 of an inch beyond the edge of the paper. But, you know, if you want to stick to the edges, if you want to go even further aside, then, you know, go for it. You do you. Do whatever makes you happy. And I mean, you might want to just like stick a, you know, glue sort of 5 inches at a time. So, you know, maybe 5-10 centimeters, and then just start sticking stuff down. I would like, I mean, I tend to make sure that everything's overlapping, and I glue down where it overlaps, but that is just my way of doing it. If you don't want to do that, then don't do that. Like I said, there's no hard rules about how to do this type thing. Alright, so now we're gonna do that there. And I'm just adding, even though I've got like my long strip down. Oh, see, this is why I don't like glue sticks. You get bits everywhere. I'm just adding a little bit in that kind of crossover area. Oops. So that the one bit will stick to the next bit. Now that's quite a see-through bit, but that doesn't matter. Alright, so now we glue another 10-15 centimeters. Now I'm going to do that way, and like, it doesn't matter which way around you put this at all. You can you know, turn it all kind of directions if you want. What's that? Oh, I just had a thought and it's gone straight out of my head. You can add colour if you want to, she says, looking at the matte piece. You don't need to stick to any particular colour scheme if you don't want to. So now this one's just a little bit too wide, so I'm just going to like tear that down. But then I can always, see, that's a little bit sticky there, so I might just put a little bit more on there. And like, so I tend to like work sideways, have my like empty roll on one side, and then as I start to fill up my strip here, I'll start rolling it over on this side just very loosely. But because I've got scrap piles on both sides, it's a little bit more awkward. This way. Now, I'm trying not to give myself like too many straight edges. So, I'm just... There's some dyed paper there from Tanya. Yeah, I'm just like, oops, I don't want too many matte bits all at once. But that's not too bad. I suppose it's slightly different. But it is a bit colourful. I want to come back to that bit. Here we go. So now, if I put that there, and this is just something that was stamped, and then I can just tear down there. Awesome. So I might come back and use that. And I mean, like here I've done 2 narrow bits wide, so you can do that. Like, it doesn't have to be a single bit long. So we're going to put that in there. The only thing I would try, would suggest is, and you don't need to, but like I'm trying to make sure that I am at least covering from side to side. Right, whoops, I don't want that foil. So we'll put you aside out the way. So like here we've got this bit. So again we're going to, whoops, pick up the glue that's all over the mat. And I just want to, now I'm going to put something very narrow underneath there. So if I do kind of a there, and I want just a very thin strip. And we're going to bring that down to there, and then I can just put a bit more glue over the top. And like, I mean, this is like, I know I keep repeating myself and keep saying it, but I mean, this is our building the base, and this is the kind of thing that is just absolutely perfect for doing when you don't want to think about it too much. When you are watching TV, or you want to escape the kids, because they're yelling at each other, and you just want to get away from it all, but you've got a headache and you don't want to think about anything too much. This is the ideal thing to do. Okay, so we're all finished with the strip. It's completely done. One thing I don't know that I mentioned is if you don't have access to adding machine rolls or anything like that, then don't panic. all you need is just strips of paper, and you can just glue them end to end until you get a strip that is, you know, long enough for your liking or for your needs. So yeah, use whatever you've got. Don't feel like you have to go out and buy anything new. So once I have finished this, what I like to do is put it aside to dry completely. And depending on what glue you've got and like what the weather is and what season it is, how humid, etc., that may take anywhere from, you know, a couple of minutes to overnight. So what I like to do is, and what I've done for the last few, is I roll my paper, my snippet roll, onto a tube or a cotton reel. Now these cotton reels started their life like this, just raw wood, and then I have altered them to look vintage. So if you'd like to see a tutorial on how I've done this using items that are just in your craft room, let me know, and I will do one after Dephemerember is over. But for now, all I do is just roll it around on here. And I mean, you really want something that is going to be long enough or wide enough, long enough, depending on how you want to say it, to fit your roll of paper. Now at this stage, this is where I decide if I want to just add a little bit more glue on some of these seams. So I will just go through and attach them, and then as we put the next layer on top, it will hold the layer below in place. So they, you know, help each other to stick down. If you find that this isn't doing the trick, which sometimes it isn't, then you can use some of your glue here, because you don't need a lot. So I'm just going to do a quick blobble on the ends of these, and I know that they will definitely stay in place. And then I'm going to keep knocking that over as I continue on doing this. And so you find that, and it normally is just these little wee ends sometimes that just don't want to stay together. But just doing this quick little wee trick will make sure that everything does stay together long term. And then I'll just cut off a small piece of washi tape to hold this together, and that can now sit to one side. So I'm going to let that one dry, which means that I am going to use one that I've created earlier, plus I've also got this one from Robyn. So now, as I said, this one's probably a wee bit wide for me, so let's see if we can tear it down the middle. Let's see what happens. That's about the middle. Look at that. So there we go. That's your other alternative. Is create it wide and then tear it in half. Alright, so there we go. So then I could attach this to the end or to the middle and would have a great big line like this. So what we're going to do now is, and this is a different way of altering our bases. So here we're creating the space, we're altering the layers so that it's ready for what it is we want to do. So we could leave it like this and maybe turn it into a belly band, or we could cut it up and turn it into page tabs. We could cut it up and use it as like the bases for clusters. There is a lot of things that we can do with this. So what my thoughts are is that I want to create a ruffle and a pleated ruffle. So we're going to give it a go. I haven't done this before, so who knows if it's going to work. So what we need to do is we're going to take this and we're just going to fold it back on itself. And we want to try and get these bits kind of the same size. And so all I'm doing is I'm taking this strip, I'm taking it, or selecting where I want it to bend, and then I'm folding it forward on itself. So we're creating like a zigzag strip. So let's bring you down a wee bit closer, might help. Right, so I've brought you in a little bit closer because I figured that might be of more benefit. So here we go. We've got our flat end here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just sort of putting my thumbnail, about thumbnail distance. I'm bending up over that thumbnail using my finger in here. And the length of my thumbnail is, of course, shorter than my fingernail. And I'm only doing like about a half fingernail anyway, so that I'm getting a pleat. So thumbnail, half a fingernail, and fold on itself. So thumbnail, half a fingernail, fold on itself. And so now I'm shortening this and creating that zigzaggy shape. Now that we've pleated all of this, we could run this through the sewing machine to hold everything in place. But my sewing machine is upstairs. So what I'm going to do is hand sew it. Okay, so this is our folded and our pleated strip of snippet roll. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it around because I'm right-handed, and I'm going to sew from this end here. So starting underneath, I'm going to start just before this first fold, right in the middle of the strip. And I'm just using a single thread, a single string of thread with just a knot tied in the other end. And what I'm going to do is now stitch into the middle of the fold, go back through that first hole and then do it again. So I'm essentially going through twice. Now I'm not worrying so much about the bottom layers, it's the top that I want to hold in place. So now I'm going to come up again from the bottom just before the next fold. So it's only a very small stitch. And then again, we're going to go just under halfway through. Now it's going to be quite firm to go sew through because we're going through 3 layers of our ribbon, our snippet strip, but you've got to remember that each layer has got multiple papers on there. But it does make it easier to go back through the same holes. And this is essentially what I would be doing if I was sewing this on the sewing machine. So you see, we're going up here and down here, just over that fold. And then we'll come up before the next fold. Go up and over. So that we're holding the fold, this fold here, down on the layer below it. There we go, all finished, all hand sewn. So now clearly if you had a sewing machine available to you, then it would be a lot quicker and a lot easier to sew it by machine. And you could even fold it as you fed it through the machine. I'd probably do it this way, tucking them in and create the pleating as you sewed the strip. I know this because I've done it before. But I just wanted to prove not having access to a sewing machine does not prevent you from making something like this, because you can hand sew it and still achieve the same results as machine sewing. So if this is like, if you are you're a hand sewer, then you'll be able to nut this out. But if you've never sewn before and you don't know how to hand sew, and you would like, you know, a more detailed tutorial on what to do and how to hand sew when it comes to paper crafting, and you'd like maybe a series on it, then let me know, because I'm more than happy to create some videos on different hand sewing techniques. But this is how we have altered our strip from just being a plain strip. We've folded it, so we've created quite a bit of dimension. So you compare the two strips. So we've got flat paper there and instant definition, and we've got like there's a real tactile feel to it, and just by folding it into place, and then we're going to hold it like that. Step 3 is where we dress the face, and so we're going to add some decoration onto our ruffle. So for this we're bringing in Grandma's buttons. Now they're not, she's not like my grandma, it was my mother, but she was a great grandma at the time, so I think that fits the bill. And my mother used to have a fashion store where she would knit with, you know, one of those knitting machines that you had to, it had like a pattern that fed through it, and there was a little wee cartridge that you sort of move side to side, and that was knitting a row. Well, she had one of those and knitted jerseys and tops and all sorts of things for the store. And these are buttons that were left over from that. Plus I've got some that I've, you know, collected from different things and purchased where I wanted like some vintage buttons. I've got some like that. So I'm pulling out some of my green buttons because I thought, okay, well that's kind of where I'm heading. So we've got some bright green buttons, we've got some dark green, and then we've got various different greens from my mother's stash. Okay, looks like that's our pick. So they can go back in there. They can go back in there. So all I'm going to do now is, now I could sew them on, but I don't want to. So I'm just going to glue these buttons on. And I mean, you might like to let them sit for, you know, 5 or 10 minutes with some weight on it. Or you could just, you know, meditate while you hold the buttons in place, just to allow them time to really firm up that hold. So there we go. I think that looks very cool. Now I'm not going to do anything more to this. I know I could add on, you know, all sorts of bells and whistles, but I like this just like that. That's what I wanted, was something nice and simple. And I mean, this I could now turn into a belly band. I could put it on the edge of a page. I could put this across the top of a pocket. Could be the start of a cluster or the edge of a cluster on the front cover of a journal. So I mean, the kind of thing I would do is, okay, I've got my snippet rolls made up and I leave them like this on the roll, and as I want to use them, whether it be like this or as the basis of a cluster. So if I've got a roll like this, then I could say tear this across, and okay, right, gonna build my cluster on this, and I'd build, like, you know, probably half a dozen all at once using just bits torn off the snippet roll, and I could add things onto there. So I mean, like for this one here, So where's some of these other bits that we had before? So we've got our lace. I want to add a bit of height. Now, I don't think I want that one. It's too close in size. But I want to add some height like that. Now, let's see, what have we got in here? Right, there we go. That was quite nice. I just like the colouring of it. There we go. So, let's see what we could do is we're going to turn it into a tag. So, we've got this Merry Christmas there. But we're going to kind of cover this with so that we're just using it as a background. So we're going to stick that on. I prefer this side here. So we're going to like cut. Let's do it. This is like random bonus. I was not planning this, so we're going to go just over here. Right, so that's down there. Then we want to add on some height. And I'm actually going to go this way around. And this is a scrap from yesterday. I'm not sure, the days are blurring already. A couple of days ago. So we got there, and we've put a little bit too much glue on there, Paula, I know. So we've got that there. Now we're going to, this was again, this was leftover lace from the, what was it, the moth-eaten lace prompt. So there we go, we're going to stick that down. Doesn't need to go on there. And I like that because it goes very well with this. Now, normally I would soak this off with water so that I could have the steps separately. But I kind of like the paper itself. So now, but it's too big for on there. So let's just tear it. So we've got the stamp there. The stamp's a bit big. Okay, so we'll hold off on that stamp. We want to put buttons on it, and I do quite like that stamp though, because that would mean I could use a green button rather than like one of those buttons. So we could, and maybe if we go there, and then we could use one, use a lighter button, 2, and then how about we go 1, 2. That one's a bit thick. All stripes. That one's got stripes on it. So now we want these. Whoops. Oh, there we go. That's what we want. We've got a little gold safety pin in there. Hang on, I've got that on my desk. That must be because I need to use it. There we go. We can put that across there. Let's do that. So if we go that way, so that's going to be about 7. So I'm going to trim that off there. Oh, I need better scissors. Okay, let's try these ones. So what I'm going to do is, yep, that's better. One. So I'm just creating a banner end on this. Oops, put that cap on them because they're quite sharp. I don't know where the other, oh, there's the other end of that. So that's there. Now, oh no, we're going to put that up there. So now I'm going to, right, here we go, glue across here. Sorry, but we don't want the Christmas in there. There we go. So that's there. Now we need our, we're going to put our buttons on. So we got, the only thing I need to be careful of is this button's got a curved bottom on it. So we're going to go there. Oh, that one's got glitter on it, that side. Ah, stripes on that side. I like the stripes there, matte. But I like the glitter on that one too. That one's going to go there. And then the last little wee one is there. Whoops. Right, so they're there. There. And then, whoops, right, don't think I need that. We're going to, I want this to just sit up. So I'm going to put in like the corners of this, a wee foam thingies, and these aren't really not dimensional at all. They're, if I'm lucky, about 1 millimetre in depth, so hardly any dimension, but it's enough. So one, oops, now we are going to put you there. Oops, hang on, I need, can I pull up, can I pull you up? Yes, I need another one just underneath there. No, come on, go back, stick, no, don't stick, don't stick. Told you not to stick. No, I need to rescue this somehow. Which means pulling that off completely. Getting it off my finger. Take two on the, no, I don't need you as well. Take two on there. Right, that's better. That's where you're supposed to go. Right, come on. Right, and there. That's better. Right, so there, and then I am just going to add this here. Let's go a bit higher, I think. Alright, in there. Just want this safety pin out that way. There we go. So, there we go. And then we've got a little wee cluster. So, we've got our bonus piece of ephemera. This was what the make was, the snippet roll ruffle. But we've also used our snippet roll as the basis for a cluster. Or a tag, I should say. A cluster on a tag. Whew, talk about speed creating. I actually really like that. Considering there was no planning whatsoever. So we've got our snippet roll ruffle. And then we have our impromptu tag. I really like that. I mean, I could almost hang a charm from there as well, but I don't. The only thing that's going to annoy me is this ribbon, this tag ribbon coming undone. So what I might do is just put a wee drop of glue under there to hold that. But yeah, that's the only thing. That, to me, I'm really pleased with. So there we go. That is today. Sometimes we end up going off on a completely different tangent to what our plans were, and it turns out pretty cool. But sometimes we go exactly to what we planned and we also think it's awesome. I want you to go out and just play, experiment, try something different. Just pick up whatever is on your desk and play with it. So create something, and then whatever is left, create something else with it. That is your challenge. And I'll see you back in the studio tomorrow for some more play. Bye for now.